Here's another question with all this change. How do we restore trust in leadership? Or should I say maintain trust? Do you know, in the last 2 years, I think every major public institution in Britain has gone through a real inquiry as to public trust. It started with the banking sector, or at least the financial services sector of the banking industry. Then the MP's scandal gave rise to questions about Parliament and its propriety. Then the phone hacking saga led to questions about the media and the press. And the riots, in the wake of the riots, we had big questions about police force or police service. I think probably we need a combination of both. And the courts were thrown into question at the same time. Education is now under the spotlight, with universities being quizzed about how much they are asking of their students. Every major public institution in Britain, is it the same in Stoke, has gone through this process of inquiry about leadership. And this is an important thing, as I'll show you in a moment. A recent study, it's only 3 weeks old, here in Britain. 2,500 workers in large UK companies were asked these questions. Is your CEO acting ethically, in your view? Is your company acting as ethically as it was 3 years ago? 30% of workers in large companies said, my CEO is not working ethically in my view. 25% of workers in public companies, 10% in private companies said, no, my company is not as ethical as it was 3 years ago. How do we restore and maintain trust in leadership? Now, why is that even important? Because in an age of rapid change, and particularly a time of economic hardship, the thing people want most and look for most in community is leadership. But not leadership of title, leadership of function. Leadership that is able to add value to the change, to make sense of the change, and to create the kind of cultural architecture where people feel confident in their own ability to solve problems. I believe it's not so important the power a leader has, but how much he or she will empower others to be creative. I'm sure that you will agree. My definition of leadership, I was asked by the BBC in Stoke yesterday, how do you define a leader? It's a good question. I think a leader articulates vision, maps out strategy, marshals activity to create an environment, a milieu, a culture where people flourish and projects fly. It doesn't matter what the business, doesn't matter what the enterprise or what the project. That is the role, fundamentally, of a leader. We are cultural architects. We create a culture in which people have confidence to invent. And by the way, it is not technology that shapes the future. It is human choice. It is human response to technology, how we use it. It is human response to natural events. It is human response to economic change. That's what changes the future. And we as leaders have the power, the influence, to facilitate culture which impacts choice. Studies have shown repeatedly the biggest factor in individual choice, aside from my personal values, is the culture of which I'm a part. Again, because we are social beings, the power of acculturation is very strong in shaping our choices, and it is those choices, ladies and gentlemen, that shape the future. Here in Stoke, what kind of city do you want to live in 10 years from now? As a business leader, don't just ask, what kind of business do I want? What profit margin do I want? What return for my shareholders? No. What kind of city do you want to be based in 10 years from now? And what can you, through your role, do now to set that in motion?